Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're switching things up a bit. We're going to be taking a look at a piece of fan fiction.
Ooh, fan fiction.
Yeah, it's called The Unspoken Language.
Okay.
And, well, it's a romance set after, like, a really devastating war,
Okay.
featuring Ginny Weasley and Neville Longbottom.
Interesting combo.
Right,
So-
I know. And what really caught my eye was how it explores, like, resilience and doubt and healing, but all through this lens of unspoken understanding.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how the author takes this world, if we're also familiar with like this magical world, and uses it to explore something that's so human,
Yeah.
Like that struggle to rebuild and recover after conflict. It's something we could all relate to on some level.
Absolutely. And you feel that weight right from the start. Like in chapter 1, which is called The Bloom of Resilience, the story describes this post-war atmosphere, and it's so vivid. Like there's this imagery of scars on the landscape, this lingering sense of fear, and even the air feels heavy with loss.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah, it's really powerful. And it sets the stage for where Ginny and Neville are at emotionally.
and both characters have their own ways of coping with it all. Like Ginny, she finds solace in Quidditch. It's almost as if she's trying to like fly away from the pain. Trying to recapture that feeling of freedom that the war took from her.
It makes you wonder if she's using the speed and adrenaline as a distraction.
Right.
And then you have Neville, who before the war, he was always portrayed as kind of timid, and now he's this unexpected hero.
Exactly. And he's found a different kind of escape, like a quieter one. He finds comfort in herbology.
Interesting.
Yeah, tending to plants and nurturing life.
Yeah.
It's almost symbolic of his own journey of growth and resilience.
I love that. It's such beautiful imagery, and it makes you realize that even in the same world facing similar trauma, people find their own paths to healing.
Absolutely.
But I think what ultimately brings Ginny and Neville together is this shared experience of loss and survival. They don't need to explain what they went through, they just get it.
That shared trauma becomes the foundation for their connection.
Yeah.
It forms a kind of unspoken language.
Mm.
And there's this really beautiful scene where they're both looking at a moon bloom.
Oh, I loved that detail.
It's this magical flower that only blooms at night.
It's like this hidden beauty that thrives in darkness, kind of like their own connection.
Exactly. It's subtle, but it's powerful. And it foreshadows their journey. And as the story unfolds, you see their bond deepening. They share stories, fears, even dreams for the future.
It feels so authentic, like how real relationships develop, you know? You start with those surface-level conversations, and then as trust grows, you start to reveal the deeper, more vulnerable parts of yourself.
And that vulnerability is so crucial for a strong relationship.
Oh, definitely.
It creates space for genuine connection, the kind that can only emerge when you feel truly seen and understood. But as we move into Chapter 2, The Whispers of Doubt, we see how even the strongest connections can be tested by outside pressures.
It's like that honeymoon phase is over and reality sets in. People start gossiping, judging their relationship, and it brings up all sorts of insecurities, especially for Ginny.
Yeah, she's hesitant to be vulnerable again.
Yeah.
After everything she's been through, it makes sense that she'd be guarded, afraid of getting hurt.
And Neville, despite his newfound confidence, he's battling his own doubts, too.
Mm-hmm.
He worries that he isn't enough for Ginny, that her past might overshadow their present.
And we see this play out beautifully in a scene that takes place in the Room of Requirement.
Oh, that's such a cool setting.
It is. It's this magical room that adapts to your needs, and in this scene, it becomes a space where Ginny and Neville can finally confront their anxieties.
It's such a raw and honest conversation. They both lay their fears bare. And what struck me was that even though their anxieties stem from different places, they both come down to this primal fear of loss.
Right. It highlights this universal human experience of vulnerability that comes with caring deeply for someone.
Yeah. And this brings us to Chapter 3, The Language of the Heart, which takes place on the anniversary of the Battle of Hogwarts.
Talk about a loaded setting.
I know, right? It's a day filled with grief remembrance, and for Ginny and Neville, it must bring back all those traumatic memories.
Absolutely. It's a poignant reminder that even as we try to heal and move on, the echoes of trauma can linger.
And it's in this emotionally charged setting that Ginny finally breaks down. She confesses her fear to Neville, her fear of losing him, of getting hurt again. It's a pivotal moment in their relationship because she's putting her heart out there. You know, it takes so much courage to be that vulnerable, especially after everything she's been through.
It does. And what I love is how Neville reacts. He doesn't try to dismiss her fear or make promises he can't keep. He just holds her and says, we're stronger together.
It's such a simple statement, but it's so powerful.
Right. It's not about fixing the problem. It's about acknowledging her feelings and offering support. Sometimes the most comforting thing you can do for someone is just be present with them in their pain.
I think that's so true. And it's Neville's acceptance, his unwavering support that allows Ginny to see her fear in a new light.
Exactly. She realizes that it's not a weakness, but a testament to how much she cares for Neville.
It made me think, sometimes fear can be scary, but sometimes it's just a sign that something really matters to you. And by facing that fear head on, Ginny is choosing to be vulnerable and open her heart to Neville, even though there's that risk of getting hurt.
It's a beautiful illustration of how love can be a source of strength, especially when facing adversity. It's not about pretending to be fearless, but about choosing to face those fears knowing you don't have to do it alone.
And that's where we leave off with the detailed excerpt of the story. They leave the memorial service hand in hand, and all those whispers and judgments seem to fade away.
They've created their own world, a world built on understanding and acceptance.
It's like they've found a sanctuary in each other, a place where they can be their true selves, scars and all.
And the author leaves us with this really beautiful line. Their love was a language unspoken, a connection forged in the fires of adversity, a promise of a future filled with hope and healing.
Ugh, so hopeful. It makes you think about all the different ways people can connect, even without words.
It does. There's so much we can unpack here, starting with how shared trauma can impact human connection. It's not to say that trauma is necessary for a deep bond, but there's no denying that going through difficult experiences together can forge a unique kind of understanding.
It's like having someone who just gets it without needing a lengthy explanation.
Right.
And that can be so powerful, especially in the context of healing. You don't have to explain your pain. They already understand.
And it's not just about understanding the past.
Yeah.
It's also about being able to communicate and navigate those vulnerable spaces in the present.
Yeah.
The Unspoken Language does a great job of highlighting this through Ginny and Neville's struggles with doubt and insecurity.
They both have these deep-seated fears that they bring to the relationship. And what I loved is that neither of them tries to fix the other's problems or offer empty platitudes.
They listen, they empathize, and they create this safe space for open communication.
It's about being honest about those fears, even when it's scary, and trusting that your partner will be there to support you.
Exactly. And that's where true intimacy is born. It's not about pretending to be perfect or having it all figured out. It's about being willing to show your true self flaws and knowing that your partner will accept you for who you are.
I love that. And it's not always about grand gestures or declarations either. Sometimes the most profound connections are built on those quiet moments of understanding, those unspoken acts of love and support.
Absolutely. Like, think about all the ways we communicate without words in our own lives.
Yeah, like a hug.
A knowing glance, a hand on your shoulder when you're feeling down. Those little things can speak volumes.
They really can. This story has really made me think about my own relationships. Do I have those unspoken connections with people? Am I creating space for that kind of vulnerability and understanding? What about you? Have you had any experiences where you felt that deep connection with someone without even saying a word?
That's such a great question. And it's something I think we can all benefit from reflecting on. So much of our communication is nonverbal, and yet we often overlook the power of those subtle gestures and expressions.
It's like we get so caught up in the words that we forget to pay attention to the other ways we're communicating. The tone of voice, the body language, the shared silences. Those can be just as meaningful, if not more so.
I completely agree. And the Unspoken Language does a fantastic job of reminding us of that. It's about learning to pay attention to those subtle cues, to listen not just with our ears, but with our hearts.
It's about being present, being empathetic, and being willing to connect on a deeper level even when it's scary or uncomfortable. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most profound forms of communication happen without a single word being spoken.
And those are the connections worth cherishing.
I'm curious, as we wrap up this deep dive into the unspoken language, what are your final thoughts on this idea, unspoken understanding, and its relevance to our own lives? What stands out to you as a key takeaway?
For me, it's that reminder to just be more mindful, like more present in my interactions. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to really connect with the people around us.
It's true.
This story has really inspired me to pay more attention to those unspoken moments, those connections where words aren't always necessary.
And it doesn't have to be something as dramatic as surviving a war.
Right.
It could be a shared look with a friend who understands your struggles, or offering a silent hug to someone who's hurting.
Yeah, just recognizing that we're all in this together And sometimes the best way to show support is simply to be there.
Exactly. It's recognizing that power of empathy, compassion, and that quiet understanding that can go beyond words. And it's something we can all cultivate in our lives.
Starting today.
Starting today. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me. It's made me appreciate the power of unspoken language in my own life and, the importance of nurturing those deep, authentic connections.
It's been such a pleasure exploring this with you. I always find it fascinating how fiction can offer such a unique perspective on the human experience.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive into the unspoken language has given you something to think about. Maybe it's inspired you to pay closer attention to the unspoken language in your own relationships.
Maybe you'll discover a new depth of understanding connection that you hadn't realized was there before.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of unspoken connection. Until next time, keep diving deep and stay